Primary objective: the retrieval, repair, and reboost of the International Telecommunications Satellite, or Intelsat 6 F3. A wiring error on the unmanned commercial booster rocket marooned the satellite in a useless low orbit after its launch in 1990. Intelsat commissioned NASA to rescue the stranded satellite. Though this was not NASA's first satellite rescue, it would be one of the most challenging for the Space Shuttle program. Endeavour and her crew would engage in the first attachment of a solid rocket motor in orbit, and the first attempt to perform 3 consecutive spacewalks. On Sunday, the 4th day into Endeavour's mission, Thuot and Heeb stepped into the payload bay to begin the first rescue attempt. While Thuot grappled the satellite, Heeb, from his unique vantage point in the payload bay, served as an extra pair of eyes for the cockpit. Melnick operated the robot arm from inside the orbiter.
Okay, you ready to go for it? Okay, go for it. Hey, Pierre, here we go.
Unfortunately, the cards were stacked against the crew this day.
In a little bit, Bruce. Coming in. I missed it. Hang on. Okay, have to catch it next time. Okay, we got a rate on it now.
The capture attempts caused the 4.5-ton satellite to wobble so much it became impossible for Thuot to attach the capture bar. Endeavour was forced to back away to avoid a collision with the satellite.
Verify the shower cap pedals that we flipped up
Dan,
are secured.
Rendezvous and Fidos are working on a best maneuver for you to back out here so we can stabilize for about 6-8 hours. We'll try to come in again tomorrow.
Okay, and that sounds good. We got a slight opening rate, and we're comfortable right here.
Okay, sounds good. We'll have some words for you shortly.
Monday, May 11th. Thuot and Heeb stepped from the airlock into the payload bay. While Mission Control had brainstormed for the second EVA, the crew had come up with a few suggestions of their own. They would attempt the capture in maximum sunlight to give Thuot the best view. Time would be allowed for a bump test, bumping the capture bar against the left side of the cargo bay to familiarize Thuot with the dynamics. This would also determine how the bar would respond when striking the satellite in a weightless environment. Perhaps most importantly, Brandenstein would have to keep Endeavour in position beneath Intelsat for as long as it took Thuot to get into optimum position.
Awaiting good sun angles now to begin maneuvering Pierre Thuot on the end of the robot arm into the tail end of the satellite.
Yet, despite the planning and coordination between ground and space, this second attempt also failed.
I do believe. On. Good. Well, nice. Oh, no. Back away.
Uh-oh.
Surely you had it.
During the 5.5-hour spacewalk, Thuot made 5 attempts to attach the capture bar to the satellite.
And you were right in there. Yeah. On the left beam end, I could see clearly. That was right. That was when I was looking at it. I can't see the left one because it's hidden by the bar, but yeah, I saw the left one. It almost looked like you stopped the rotation. I think you did some. You stopped the rotation and wasn't enough to fire the latches. Yes, that's true.
Problems arose when the trigger release on the grapple bar failed to snap into place due to the delicate equilibrium of the orbiting satellite.
So let's go in. The right thumb and down. Okay, go in. Hold it right there. Dang it. Why it's not grabbing? I didn't get it. It might be all of it today.
The situation was becoming increasingly frustrating. After the second attempt, Thuot noted a wide margin of difference between performing the capture in NASA's microgravity simulators and actually trying it in space. Because of Brandenstein's piloting skills and frugal use of fuel on the second attempt, enough fuel remained for one more rendezvous. 3 astronauts, Thuot, Heeb, and Akers, would attempt to capture the satellite by hand. Safety was a primary concern. Piloting had to be exact to ensure there would be no risk of a collision between the satellite and the orbiter. Every possible danger was assessed.
So the 3 crew members will be putting on their suits and climbing into the airlock, along with all of their tools and equipment that will be necessary for tomorrow's spacewalk attempt to capture the Intelsat spacecraft.
In addition, there was some concern as to whether the 3 astronauts could fit into the airlock. So, before the plan was approved, it was tested in the orbiter and on the ground. An anxious nation held its breath as Thuot, Heeb, and Akers left the airlock.
Out in the payload bay, 3 spacewalking astronauts are preparing to install the bottom plane of the assembly of station by EVA methods hardware.
After building a bridge structure across the payload bay using struts from the space station test and portable foot restraints, the trio positioned themselves for the capture. Heeb on the edge of the payload bay, and Akers on the strut spanning the payload bay. Thuot, on the robot arm, adjusted his movements in coordination with the satellite. Meanwhile, Brandenstein positioned the crew at eye level with the underside of the satellite. In this attempt, every detail had to be exact.
With the coding, it may just come right back to Tom. Over.
It may. I guess all we can do is kind of sit here and wait for the right opportunity. And
Haven't got anything else on my dance card. Over.
Yeah, real easy, guys. Real easy.
Don't bring us any closer, Dan.
Okay, I'm stopping it.
I'm afraid it's going to rise out of my reach, but we'll see. Over.
And, as the saying goes, the third time was a charm.
I can get it.
Can you get yours, Tom?
I can get mine.
Okay. Wait. Let's do it.
Got it. All got a good grip?
Yes, sir.
Houston, I think we got a satellite.
Yeah, we're watching down here. We got a lot of smiles down here, Dan.
It ain't over yet.
Indeed, it wasn't over yet. But with the most difficult part of the mission behind them, things could now proceed as planned. After rotating the massive satellite, Thuot and Heeb attached the capture bar. Once in place, Melnick maneuvered Thuot under the satellite to tighten the bar. To do this, Melnick had to move the robot arm, with Thuot still attached, extremely close to the orbiter and truss structure. This unexpected task was not part of the pre-mission training. Once Melnick used the robot arm to lower the satellite into the cargo bay, a new booster rocket was secured. When it was all over, another record had been set for the longest spacewalk in the history of the space program, 8 hours and 29 minutes. With the crew safely inside the airlock again, the satellite was ready for deployment.
Primary deploy A arm on, talkback gray. Stand by for fire. 3, 2, 1, fire. Astonished.
Tell you, that old boy didn't want to go, did he?
After 2 attempts to deploy, ground controllers sorted out the wiring change, communicated the correct switch positions to the orbiter, and Intelsat 6 was on its way to its intended orbit of 22,300 miles.